Hello, period 4. Today I am going to go over your study guide. This should be completely filled out. Okay, so do not do the study guide while I'm going over the video. You need to do it first, and then you're using this video to check to see if you did it correctly. Okay, alrighty, here we go. Number 1, it says identify the terms and like terms in the expression. So hopefully you're reading the directions. The terms would be 21x is a term, 6 is a term, negative x is a term, negative 5 is a term. If you didn't put the negative x and negative 5, those would be counted incorrect. Those are both negative. The like terms would be 21x and negative x, and then 6 and negative 5. Okay. Number 2, terms would be 8x is a term, 14 is a term, negative 3x is a term, make sure you have a negative there, and 1 is a term. Like terms, what could we combine? 8x and negative 3x, and then 14 and 1. Okay. 3 and 4 wants us to simplify the expression. When we're simplifying, obviously we are just combining like terms. 3x plus 4x gives me 7x, and then I've got minus 7. Or you could put negative 7x plus 7x, either one of those would work. Number 4, we got a number outside of the parentheses, which means we need to distribute the 2 to the 3x to get 6x's, and the 2 to the x to get 2x, and then don't leave it like that. Those are like terms, so you can simplify even further to get 8x. Alrighty. 5 through 8, we are finding the sum or the difference, okay? So this one is the difference and this one is different, so you're distributing with a negative. So make sure you are looking carefully at those. Number 5, there's nothing to distribute. We're just going to bring down s plus 12. Nothing to distribute, so just bring outside of the parentheses 3s minus 8. And then you can combine like terms. I have 1s here, plus 4 more over here. That gives me 4 s's. And then I've got 12 minus 8, which would give me a positive 4. So I have 4s plus 4. Number 6, I do have numbers to distribute. Negative 3 times h is a negative 3h. Negative 3 times a negative 4. Negative times a negative is a positive 12. And distribute over here. Negative 2 times a negative 6h would be a positive 12h. Negative 2 times positive 5 is a negative 10. You're going to get a point for distributing correctly, and then another point for combining like terms correctly. Negative 3h plus 12h. Different signs, find the difference. More positives would be 9h. And then 12 minus 10 would be a positive 2. 9h plus 2. Number 7, nothing to distribute on the left, so just bring down n minus 8. Here we're distributing a negative, so think of a negative times a negative is a positive 2n. Negative times a positive is a negative 2. So n minus 8 plus 2n minus 2. That will get you a point. And then another point for just combining like terms correctly. This is 1n plus 2 more n's gives me 3 n's. Negative 8 minus 2 more is a negative 10. Same sign, find the sum, lots of negatives. Okay. Number 8, they threw in some fractions. 1/4 times q is 1/4 q. I'm going to show all my work. 1/4 times 12 is 12 over 4 or 3. Then it's going to be a negative 3. And then 1/3 times q is 1/3 q. And then I need to do 1/3 times 9. And it's going to be a positive 3. Okay, so again, you'll get a point for distributing correctly, and then another point for combining like terms. Now I have 1/4 q plus 1/3 q. So now I'm adding fractions, which means I need a common denominator. Times 3 times 4. We're adding 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7/12 q. And then I have a negative 3 plus 3. Negative 3 plus 3, those cancel each other out. Say different signs, find the difference. The difference is 0. So just 7/12 q would be my answer. Okay. 9 and 10. Okay, now, if you remember, now we're going to factor out the coefficient. Remember, the coefficient is the number in front of the letter. So in 2/9 j, the coefficient is 2/9. So we're going to factor out a 2/9 and see what that leaves us with. It leaves us with a j. And then remember that we're going to start with 2/3 and we're going to divide by what we factored out. So 2/3 divided by 2/9. We do not divide fractions. We keep it, switch it, flip it. Those cancel. Those we can simplify to get 3/1 or just 3. Okay, remember the day of the test. Okay, make sure it makes sense. 2/9 times j we know is 2/9 j. Make sure 2/9 times 3 gives us the correct answer back up top. 6/9, which simplifies to 2/3. That matches the original problem. So I know I did it correctly. Okay, so don't get in too much of a rush that you're not checking your work. 10. Factor out the coefficient. The number in front of the letter is 2.4. So that leaves me with an n. And then we're going to do 9.6 divided by 2.4. You may not have a decimal on the outside, so it's just 96 divided by 24. I'm pretty sure that's 4. Yeah. So it goes in 4 times evenly. Okay. Alrighty. Here's another one, but instead of factoring out the coefficient, now we're going to factor out a negative 1/4. Okay, so you must factor what they tell you. So we're factoring out a negative 1/4. We want a negative 1/2, so my first answer is going to be positive. I'm going to do 1/2 divided by 1/4. Which changes into 1/2 times 4/1. Which gives me 2. So this would be 2x inside here. Don't forget your variable x. And then I want a negative 5/4, so this one would be positive. Now I'm doing 5/4 divided by what we factored out, 1/4. And again, we don't divide fractions. We keep it, switch it, flip it to get 5. Look at your variable. It should be 5y. Okay, so now I'm not happy with that. I want to make sure this makes sense. So I'm going to do negative 1/4 times 2, which gives me 2/4 or a half x, and a positive and a negative is a negative 1/2 x. That checks out. And then I'm going to do a negative 1/4 times 5. which gives me 5 fours, and again, a positive and a negative is a negative, 5 fours, y, that checks out. Okay, so I know I did it correctly, I know I got my answer, I know I got all my points. All right, number 2, write an expression in simplest form for the perimeter of the rectangle. Okay, we know the perimeter is the distance around. So if that side is 3, the other side is 3, opposite sides are congruent, this side is c plus 4. Perimeter, distance around. So I have c plus 4 plus c plus 4 plus 3 plus 3. Write the expression in simplest form. Okay, combine like terms. I have a c here and a c here, which give me 2 c's, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Simplest form would be 2c plus 14. But 13. Eastside Bowling charges $5.50 for shoes and $3 per game. $5.50 for shoes plus $3 per game. That's Eastside Bowling. Westside Bowling charges $5.75 for shoes plus $2.50 per game. Write an expression in simplest form that represents how much more we're finding the difference. East side bowling charges than west side. Okay, let's take this step by step. Let's do east side first. East side, it is $5.50 for shoes. That's a one-time fee, plus $3 per game. West side bowling is $5.75 for shoes, plus $2.50 per game. When you do this on your test, I want you to label it. This is east side, this is west side. We're finding the difference, which means a big old subtraction sign in between these two. Okay, the difference between the shoes would be 25. Those aren't shoes, are they? Yep, they are. 25 cents. There's no X there. The difference is 25 cents for the shoes. And then the difference in the amount per game is 50 cents per game. So you'll want to put an X there, okay? And maybe up here I should have made this $3 X, but I think we get the point. Okay, so here is the difference in east side and west side. 25 cents per shoe and 50 cents per game is the difference. Okay. Alrighty, on the next page, we get into solving equations. It says to solve the equation, check, show all work, and then check your solution. So you're going to get more than 1 point for each of these, so make sure you're following the directions. The goal is to isolate the variable. I need x by itself, so it says negative 6.5. So I'm going to add 6.5 to both sides. Show your cancellation. Those are different signs, so I'm going to find the difference. To get 2 38/100ths, and it's going to be positive, more positives. Okay. And then what I would like for you to do is in a different color, or actually that won't work the day of the test. I just need you to show you're putting 2.38 back in for x. And not just putting it back in, but proving it. Those are different signs, so I'm going to find the difference. More negatives, negative gets the sign. There we go, it checks out. Okay, I'm going to want you to do that for every single one on the test. You must do the check. Okay? All right. For time's sake, I'm not going to do all of the checks in this video. Okay. Starting with 15, I need the variable by itself. That's a positive 4.5, so I'm going to subtract 4.5 from both sides, leaving me with my variable. Those, negative 5 3/4 minus 4.5, same sign, find the sum. Need a common denominator. So I have 9 5/4. Y'all, we know that 5/4 is the same as 1 1/4. So P is 10 1/4. A negative and some more negatives is a big ol' negative. So I should have P equals a negative 10 1/4. 16, instead of writing negative b over 7, remember we talked about this in class, I'm going to rewrite this so the negative is with the number and not the variable. Okay. So b over a negative 7 equals 4. This is b divided by negative 7, so I'm going to multiply this side by negative 7, multiply this side by negative 7, leaving me with a positive variable. So b is negative 28. Okay, starting with the next one, this is a two-step equation. I need to get a negative 2w by itself. Undo addition and subtraction first. So I'm going to subtract 3.7 from both sides, leaving me with negative 2w. On the right, a negative minus a negative, same sign, find the sum. So we're adding the 2, line up those decimals to get a negative 4.2 because there's lots of negatives. And then we're dividing by negative 2. So we have a positive variable. A negative and a negative is a positive. 4.2 divided by 2 is 2.1. And again, you'll need to go back and show your check on each of these. A point for the answer, a point for the check. Okay. Number 18, I'm going to rewrite 3/8 times x equals a negative 15 over 32. On the left, that says multiply, so I'm going to divide this side by 3/8. And I'm going to divide this side by 3/8 to get that x by itself. And we know that we don't divide fractions, we keep it, switch it, flip it. I just chose a different color so it's easier to see. Okay, 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 15 5 times, 8 goes into 8 once, 8, 16, 24, 32 goes in there 4 times. So I have 5 4s. 1 is positive, 1 is negative, so it's a negative 5 4s. So negative 5 4s is the same as negative 1 and 1/4. Okay, and yes, you would need to go back and substitute back in and show it, prove it. Number 19, it says plus 5 2/5, so I'm going to subtract 5 2/5 from both sides to get that a by itself. 7.5 minus 5 2/5. Common denominator would be 10 times 5 times 2. 5/10 minus 4/10 is 1/10, and 7 minus 5 is 2. So I have 2 1/10. And go back and throw it back in for A and make sure it works out. Okay, starting with the next section. We're going to write the word sentence as an equation, then solve. Okay, so look for those clue words. The difference means we're subtracting between B and 7.4. The difference between B and 7.4 is your equals a negative 6.8. So you're going to get a point for correctly writing the expression, and then another point for solving it correctly. We're going to do the inverse to solve, so we're going to add 7 4/10 to both sides. Different signs, find the difference. When you find the difference, the larger number goes on top. So we have 0.6, 7.4 is bigger, so it's going to be a positive 0.6. Okay. 21, write the word sentence as an equation. Quotient means we're dividing. The quotient of 2 times a number k, 2 times a number k, and a negative 2.6. So the quotient of 2 times a number k and negative 2.6 is 12. That's what your expression, your equation should look like. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is get rid of that negative 2.6. We divided by it. So we're going to multiply by a negative 2.6 first to get me with my 2k. So 2.6 times 12 is 31.2, and it's going to be a negative because I got a positive times a negative, which is a negative. Then I'm going to divide to get k by itself, and again, a positive and a negative is a negative, and then I need to divide 31.2 divided by 2. So I'm going to get a negative 15.6. Okay. Alrighty. 22 and 23 are the same thing, just it got separated on the page. So we're still writing the word sentence as an equation, then solving. Okay, so you have 4 of these. Okay. 5 2/5 more than A. More than just means add. So 5 2/5 more than A is 7.5. So you could have A plus 5 2/5 or 5 2/5 plus A, does not matter. Do the inverse. Subtract 5 2/5 from both sides. You're going to have to get a common denominator. So we have 2 1/10 once we subtract. Okay. And 23, write the word sentence as an equation, then solve. Number x multiplied by 3/8. So 3/8 x is a negative 15/30 seconds. I feel like we've already done this one. This says multiply by 3/8, so I'm going to divide by 3/8. So x is, keep it, switch it, flip it. I do think we did this exact same one. To get negative 5/4, be sure you always watch your signs. Okay, so we have a negative 1 1/4. Okay. Alrighty. Last few are word problems. The perimeter of this polygon is 30.4. There's my is, there's my equal. Write and solve an equation to find the unknown perimeter, distance around it. So we're going to add up all those sides. So we have 8.4, 5.6, 6.3, and an x. All must equal 30.4. Again, combine like terms. So 8.4 plus 5.6 plus 6.3, line up the decimals and add. You should get 20.3 plus some x is 30.4. Obviously, we want to isolate the variable, so get rid of the 20.3 by doing the inverse. Subtract 20.3 from both sides. and that will give us our x. 10.1 centimeters. Okay. Okay. 25. During a drought, the water level of a lake changes a -3 1/5 feet per day. Per day, each day. That tells us we're going to throwing a variable. Write and solve an equation to find out how long it takes for the water level to change a -16 feet. Okay? The water level changes -3 1/5 feet per day. How long? Until it's at a -16. Okay? One-step equation. Number next to a letter says multiply, so we're going to do the inverse and divide. Take your negative with it. Divide by a -3 1/5. Divide by a -3 1/5 to get your x by itself. All right, guys, we have a negative divided by a negative, which is going to give me a positive. I'm going to do 16 over 1 divided by, you got to change this into an improper. 15 plus 1 is 16 fifths. And then you guys know that we don't divide fractions. We keep it, switch it, flip it. Okay. 5/16, 16 fifths, 5/16. Okay, those cancel, which gives me 5 over 1 or just 5. So it's going to take 5 days in order for the water level to change to -16 feet. It didn't give us a whole lot of room to write all that. Okay. Alrighty, and the last one. You withdraw $29.79 from your bank account. Now your balance is a -$20.51. Write and solve an equation to find the amount of money in your account before you withdraw your money. Okay? Alrighty, so you withdraw $29.79 from your bank account. Your new balance is a -20.51. We withdrew $29.79. Okay. Okay. So there's my problem. So we're withdrawing it, which means we're taking it out. Okay, 1 second. I'm going to write this another way. Because I don't want a negative variable. X minus the $29.79 gives me a -$20.51. There we go. Because we're withdrawing it, so we're taking it out. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. X minus the $29.79 equals a -$20.51. Okay, to solve for X, we're going to do the inverse and add $29.79 to both sides. To get X by itself. There we go. Now, on the right side, different signs, find the difference. One is positive, one is negative, so we're finding the difference, and there's more positive, so my answer is positive. Remember, when you're finding the difference, you want the larger number on top. So I'm doing $29.79 minus $20.51. So $9.28 would be our answer. And let's go back up and make sure this makes sense. So you withdrew $29.79, and now your balance is a negative. So yeah, you had $9.28 in your account. If you put that in for X, you put $9.28. You had $9.28 in your account, and you withdrew $29.79. So you overdrew. That's why it's a negative in there. So that makes sense. Okay. Alrighty, and the last one, I think. Okay, find the value of 3x minus 2 when x plus 3 equals 10. Okay, here's what you need to do. We need to figure out what x plus 3 equals 10 is. Okay, so you need to do this problem first. We're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So x is 7. Would you agree with that? Now we know that x is 7. We can plug 7 in for x over here. So 3 times 7 minus 2. 21 minus 2 is 19. So you're finding the value of 3x minus 2 when x plus 3 is 10. So you're finding x first, so we know that x is 7. Then you can come back over and substitute in 7 for x to get 19. Okay, and you'll also have one like that on your test, okay? And you've got your test looks identical to the study guide, okay? I know it's lengthy.